Hello and welcome to Something Wicked Entertainment's presentation of Hazel Court Tribute Weekend. I am your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm the co-festival director and program director of Something Wicked Film Festival and events. And I want to thank you for joining us during this special weekend event, which is primarily for my personal Patreon patrons. So if you are a Patreon patron of mine, you get to watch this as I'm filming it. If you are not, you are seeing this after it's all been recorded and edited and whatnot. So, as a patron of my Patreon, you get to see stuff like this before everyone else. If you're not one of my patrons, if you like what you see, go ahead and join. You'll be able to see and get an idea of all the different types of stuff that I do, in addition to the Something Wicked film festivals and other events that we do. That being said, this tribute weekend is just one of many tribute weekends that we do. This is an unexpected one as it was not on our schedule. So this is going to be a surprise for everybody when we release it. Hazel Court is a phenomenal actress who had a long career. I know most of the films of her career during her later part, where she was in films, most of Hammer film, a lot of Hammer films and whatnot. So this weekend we are kind of highlighting a lot of films in which she did prior to that, and there are a lot of films that I have never seen. So as I am presenting them for you, you are kind of joining me on this first watch of these films as well. So I'm going to enjoy them just as much as you do. That being said, if you do enjoy the film, make sure to add it to your physical or digital collection. All of this supports the arts and supports the filmmakers who had a hand in making these films. And we want to continue to support these filmmakers, support the arts, and support the legacies of these amazing film talents. So by all means, make sure to do that. That being said, our next film up is one I have not seen. Like I've said before, it is called Hour of Decision. So this will be a new experience for me, and I'm really excited to be watching with you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, right? Okay. All right. Hazel Court. I am really excited. So I hope you enjoy.
Evening, Gary. How are things?
Okay.
Tell you what, you see, you're always the same. Relaxed, content, always the same. Wish I knew the secret.
Got to find out what you most like doing in life and then do it. But at the top, that's the secret.
I like running this club, but it has its problems.
But you worry too much about details. Got to be like me, take the broad view. I ask nothing out of life except that I go on like this for the rest of my days. Worry about nothing, you'll be happy, Alvin.
It's good advice, I guess, but...
You see, you worry.
Shall I serve coffee now, sir?
Thank you. I think I'll take a look around my parish.
Gary, will you drink with us?
With pleasure.
And you too, Mr. Maine.
Thank you.
Any special reason?
To wish us luck.
Always. What are you betting on?
Each other. Tony and I are engaged.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Miss March? Mr. Pendleton?
Thank you.
You're the first newspaper man I've told.
Headline. Model marriage?
That's not bad. 'Cause I'm a model. See, darling?
Very amusing. We're done, darling?
Will you print the story, Gary?
The mighty presses wait hungrily. So will she. Young Pendleton hasn't got a farthing.
I guess they'll be happy just the same.
You're a sentimentalist, Alvin, man.
And I tell you, Chadwick, I wouldn't sell that little plot of land for all the gold in Fort Knox.
Really? How interesting. We've never met, Mr. Chadwick. May I introduce myself? I'm Gary Baggs.
I'm very pleased to meet you.
How do you do?
This is my wife, Eileen.
We have met, I think, at some charity committee.
I do seem to remember. How do you do?
Splendidly, thanks.
And this is Mr. J. Foster Green.
Glad to know you, Mr. Bax.
How do you do, Mr. Green? Well, am I interrupting a big business deal, or is this just a pleasure trip?
Business is my pleasure.
Read my column tomorrow, Mr. Green. You've just become a quotable notable.
Won't you sit down and have a drink?
Thank you.
If there is any news value in our association, it'll be for the city column. Cigarette?
No, thank you. I'll smoke in my coffee. I could make a guess, you know. Something like this. Quote, is millionaire shipowner Reese Chadwick negotiating a sellout to American interests represented by financier J. Foster Green? Last night at the Sapphire Club, the two tycoons banqueted. The latter looking as if he'd swallowed a shipping line as well as his supper. Unquote.
You're right off the track.
Am I? Well, put me on it, please. Care to make a statement, Mr. Green?
I think your policemen are wonderful.
And our nightclubs?
As good as anything we have in New York.
Well, you know, I shall have to print something in my column about your visit here. After all, you're not regulars.
We're just good friends.
Ouch, that phrase. The tombstone erected over so many stillborn stories. Well, please don't go away, gentlemen. I'll be back later to conduct a further inquisition. Thanks for the drink.
That's quite all right.
Now, look, Reese, this deal is very delicate. Publicity is the last thing we can afford at this stage.
Oh, I don't think he'll publish anything.
Who is this guy, anyway?
The finest columnist in the country, Daily Gazette. He calls his page The Table in the Corner. That table. He writes about the people who come to this club.
What your countrymen call a gimmick chair.
Pretty powerful character.
He is entertaining.
Olive, dear. You're getting younger every day.
Too kind, Gary. Have a drink?
No, thank you.
Oh, please, just a tiny one to mark our separation.
Well, tonight's not our separation anniversary, is it?
You should be grateful for it every day.
Are you?
Deeply.
How can I fail to share gratitude so warmly expressed? No, I think we three make the best story I'll ever find. Pity I can't bring myself to print it.
Delicacy, I suppose.
You're right, you know. I just hate to hurt my own feelings. Or those of my wife. Thanks. Have fun.
We do. Thank you.
Waiter. It's so much nicer when everyone's sensible, isn't it?
Continue drinking at this rate, my dear. And it won't be at all nice when you become insensible.
Olive, darling, don't scold me.
Oh, I'm not, Andy, but you have...
Another. Yes, sir.
You disappoint me sometimes, Andy.
Peggy, my dear. This is the loveliest surprise of the week. Cigarette?
Hey, Michelle. She knew?
New to me, Mr. Maine.
Copy for the column.
I don't know her. Anyway, I'm not interested in that table.
I'm sorry. I know I ought to have been in touch with you by now, but you know how it is. I'm always so busy, you must forgive me.
Say, who would that be, Reese? A duchess?
Hardly.
Pity. I sure would like to meet a real live duchess.
Perhaps you can satisfy our guest's curiosity, my dear.
I'm afraid not. I don't know the lady.
Peggy, my dear, how can you be so cruel? Won't you leave me something to remember you by? Something to brighten my dreary old age.
Are you ready? Right. Hold it. Thank you.
Don't worry, my dear. Everybody worries too much. Be like me, never worry about a thing. Come on, I'll see you to your car.
We'll have 3. When will they be ready?
In about an hour, sir.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
They didn't appear to have formed a permanent attachment.
Unlucky them.
I've telephoned your home, sir.
Thank you.
What's the matter with him?
Mr. Maine. He seems to be dead drunk, sir. He's not dead drunk. He's dead.
What are you doing here?
Hoping for a warmer welcome than that from my wife. Hello, you.
Hello, you.
I had a lucky break. I got my final story before noon, phoned it through, and that nice, kind news editor said to have fun in Rome for the rest of the day and fly back tomorrow.
Why didn't you?
You weren't in Rome. How could it be fun? Especially today. Don't you realize we've been Mr. and Mrs. Sanders for a whole month?
I do.
My favorite sentence. You look like $900,000.
Why not $1 million?
Oh, I'm just a poor reporter. I can't raise the other 100 grand. Where have you been?
Oh, we went to the new show at the Royal.
Oh.
To have a look at the costumes.
Boss wants you to sketch them for the magazine?
Yes, we went together.
Well, it's going to work out.
No, I don't think so. Too exotic.
So's this bracelet. It's not you, it looks good. First time I've seen you wear it.
Well, I've been waiting for an opportunity to dress up and look like $900,000.
Whoever gave it to you?
The man I love. He bought it for me in Turkey.
Whatever happened to that character?
Oh, I married him.
Good timing, Joe. Breakfast nearly ready. You're really entitled to a day off today, seeing that you dashed back from Rome like that. Why don't you get out before the office get on to you? It's a lovely day. I don't need the car. You can have the whole day off. Joe Saunders, are you listening to me?
Sure. I always listen to you.
Then what did I say?
You said that you were on the town last night, so why didn't I do the same today?
Well, why don't you?
You know, I'd like to have seen that show at the Royal last night with you.
Joe, you hadn't drunk your fruit juice.
I'm not thirsty. Did your boss take you for a drink after the show last night?
No, why is it important?
Did you go to the Sapphire Club last night?
No.
Sure?
Of course I'm sure, but I'm not going...
No. You're not reliable, but the Gazette is. The bracelet, your furs. You, right there in the photo. You lied to me. Why? Look at me, Peg.
Don't make me tell you, Joe. I don't want you to know.
I can imagine. But you're asking the impossible, Peg. I've got to know. Whatever it is, I've got to know.
I wrote some letters to Gary Bax before I met you. When we married, I didn't want you to find out. I couldn't do anything about it whilst you were in London. I went to Rome. A whole week to get back some letters. Wasn't enough. You were due back today. I had to do something. So I went to the Sapphire Club last night. Failure. Miserable failure. Just said something about reading them in his old age. I'd given him every opportunity. I'd completely humiliated myself by going up to that famous table in the corner with half London looking on. So, there was nothing else for me to do. Just go to his flat and look for the letters.
No trouble getting in.
I didn't find the letters.
How did it happen, Peg? Bax and you.
I hadn't met you then, Joe. I didn't know what it was like to really be in love. Joe, I didn't want to hurt you.
Sure.
Now if the letters have gone, they become public property.
Joe Sanders. Oh, hi, Chief. Yeah, I just read about it. Sure, great loss to journalism. Okay. Well, sure, I don't mind. What's a day off anyway? Right. Bye. This could be a break, Peg. They want me to do a story on the late Gary Bax. We've still got a chance.
Joe, if you could get the letters back, it'd be wonderful.
Well, it's worth a try. I'll go and dress.
Well, I'm right in your hands, Mr.
Sanders.
Mr. Sanders. You and all the other press boys, I mean, the wrong side of publicity killed my business stone dead.
Just like Gary Bax.
Hey, now, wait a minute. I like Gary. Who didn't? He was an attraction, an institution. Well, it's tough on him to cash in comparatively young, but it's not my fault he decided to drop dead in the vestibule.
Don't worry, Mr. Maine. I'll only print the truth.
Oh, now you really worry me.
Are you frightened of the truth, Mr. Maine?
Well, who are you?
Inspector Garr, Scotland Yard. All right, carry on, Dale. Who are you?
Joe Sanders, European Bureau, Globe Magazine. What's your interest here?
Same as yours. If you're a crime reporter.
I don't specialize.
Well, I do. In murder.
Murder?
There was enough poison in Bex's drink last night to make a cobra sign the pledge.
Well, I don't get it. How?
Well, can't you make a guess? You knew him well enough?
Well, sure, in public, yeah, but in private, others knew him better.
For instance?
For instance? Well, most of the characters that had a drink with him here last night.
Names.
Well, there was Denise March.
What about her?
Well, nice kid, good fashion model on the way to the top.
Why should she drink with Bex?
Well, a few months ago, they did practically everything else together.
What broke them up?
Oh, True Love, alias Tony Pendleton.
Was he here last night?
Well, sure he was. He was celebrating his engagement to La Belle Denise.
What about him?
Well, an ex-commando with no money. Loads of charm, though.
Violent temperament?
Oh, listen, Inspector, the war's over. He hasn't killed anyone in 12 years.
Well, that takes care of one drink. Who else?
Well, there was Mrs. Bax, Olive.
Was she at Bex's table?
You don't know nothing, do you, Inspector?
No, that's why I keep asking questions all the time. Well, go on.
Well, she was sitting right over there, Inspector, with Andrew Crest, as usual.
Sounds cozy.
People don't even talk about it anymore.
So Bex had a drink with his wife and her boyfriend.
Like you said, real cozy.
2 drinks. Sounds like a dull evening.
Oh, no. No evening is dull with Andrew Crest. Expensive, though, for everyone except Andrew Crest.
Yeah, I know the type.
Yeah, I reckon you've arrested quite a few in your time.
Now, don't let's talk about me. Let's talk about the people that Bex drank with. Well, who else?
Well, there was Reese Chadwick. Now, you know about him, surely.
Shipping magnate?
Oh, yes. What was he doing here?
He was having a good time. Everybody that comes here has a good time.
Was he alone?
Oh, no. He was with his wife, Eileen. For she's no more of the nightclub type than Mr. Chadwick. They were entertaining an American guest of theirs, J. Foster Green.
One of our big ship owners.
Was Bex after some kind of story?
Yeah, he was trying to get the dope on a deal that was cooking between Green and Chadwick. I don't think he made much headway, though. Well, that's all, I guess. I can't think of anyone else he ought to drink with.
What about this woman in the paper?
No, I was kind of concentrating on real drinks.
Who is she?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Well, can't you describe her?
No, not very well. She had a kind of gray fur with tails, bracelet like a knuckle duster.
What do you know about knuckle dusters?
Well, we get all sorts in here, Inspector.
Yes. Not all of them die here. Who else saw her come in?
Well, everybody, anybody, I mean, who'd take notice of yet another beautiful dame bearing down on the table in the corner. They buzzed around him all night. She was the last of a long line of gossip paragraphs and evening gowns. They sat right there, didn't talk for more than a couple of minutes.
While he drank his coffee?
Yeah. And then he saw her out.
Then he went out.
All right, you are.
Inspector, this is the waiter who served Mr. Baxter.
This woman, did she take coffee?
No, sir. When I cleared, there was just the one cup, Mr. Bax's cup. I do remember that.
Nothing else?
No, sir.
You've no idea who she is?
Haven't a clue.
That phrase always gives me a pain. You didn't even hear anything worth remembering.
I hear some pretty strange things waiting in this club, sir, but the first qualification for this job is to be able to forget them. You
Yes,
kind
I'm
of
quite
train
sure.
yourself.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir, there was one thing I did hear. I remember now. Not very strange, really. Mr. Bax called the lady Peggy. My dear Peggy, or Peggy, my dear.
Thank you very much. What ideas have you got, Mr. Sanders?
Call me Joe.
All right. What ideas have you got, Joe?
So it's a murder story. Mind if I tag along on your inquiries?
Well, I like you, Joe. You're on the ball.
On the case, Inspector. Say, do I have to go on calling you Inspector?
My parents had a twisted sense of humor. You won't get my first name out of me. How'd you know Mr. Baxter returned before the coffee got cold?
He telephoned me every night to say what time he'd be in. He wrote his column here.
Was that his usual habit?
No, only the last few weeks. He used to write at the club. Told me that way he never got to bed. This way, writing at home, he got some sleep instead of staying up all night in town.
Sounds sensible. What are you up to, Joe?
Oh, just getting atmosphere. Home of the murdered man. Usual stuff, you know.
So you expected Mr. Baxter to return shortly after you delivered the coffee, eh?
I certainly did. There was a lady waiting for him.
Lady? What lady?
I can't tell you that. I didn't see her. She must have been through there.
You didn't see her? How'd you know the visitor was a woman?
Oh, she left her fur over here.
What kind of fur?
Oh, grey one, with tails.
You seen it before?
No, sir, but I have since, in the Gazette this morning.
Okay. All right, you can go.
Thank you, sir.
What have you found, Joe?
Atmosphere. Some of the nicest I've ever seen.
Oh. I wonder if any of these babies were addicted to gray fur or barbaric bracelets. Oh, or letter writing. No wonder she came back for these. What's the matter, Joe? You ought to be proud of yourself.
No, it's just that I'm beginning to realize that we're hunting a human being.
Why, do you want to cry off?
No.
Why, after all, you've seen us through means and opportunity. Now you've revealed the motive. All we have to do now is to hang the three like a fur collar around the neck of Madame Bracelet.
Must you call her that?
No. Seeing she signs herself Peggy.
Handwriting does not remain constant. It is always influenced by mood. Relaxed or urgent, affectionate or antagonistic. The general structure here is deliberate, calm, but the underlying anxiety cannot be hidden. The contrast between this and the love letters is thus very clearly marked.
I've got the point.
You may have the main point, Inspector, but perhaps the subtleties have escaped you.
I look forward to reading your report.
Time, Inspector. We must save time. Far better if I tell you now. See how deliberately the I's and the T's have been dotted and crossed. I would even go so far as to say that the writer went through this letter after it was written for that very purpose. A most telling psychological parallel. Dotting the I's and crossing the T's of her letter, as well as her situation.
Thank you. You've given me the clearest possible explanation of her state of mind, of which I was practically ignorant.
Hello, Joe. I'm sorry, I thought it was my husband. No, the model hasn't arrived yet. I know it's urgent. I'll do my very best. But 8 sketches cannot be done in that time. Well, we shall have to work through our lunch hour. I'll let you know as soon as we're through. Goodbye. Joe, did you get the letters?
Peggy, he was poisoned. It's murder now. And the police have found the letters. At least I got this first.
I may suspect them, but they don't know what I look like.
No. Were any other pictures taken at the club last night with you facing the camera?
I don't remember. I don't even remember that photograph being taken. They put it in the newspaper.
Let's get rid of this one first. Tell me. Those letters. Anything in them that could lead directly to you.
Why did I ever write the letters?
Analysis, Slater, be practical now.
Oh, I don't think there's anything about my job. I just signed the letters Peggy. Your name for me, Joe.
Never mind that. Where did you...
I'm awfully sorry, Margaret. The most terrible traffic jam. I'll change right away.
Where did you post them?
Oh, what does it matter?
Postmarked. You could be traced.
Only London.
Where?
I don't remember. You don't remember things like that, Joe.
You've got to try. Fleet Street? Where you used to live? Or the zoo? Or where?
I don't recall, honestly.
Well, at least the last letter, then. Think.
Near the office, Fleet Street.
Oh, smothered in postmarks when you could have delivered them by hand less than 100 yards away.
Oh, analysis later, Joe. Please don't shout at me now.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry for all this trouble. What are we going to do, Joe?
Only one thing to do. I got to find that killer if I have to question everybody who was at the club last night.
You're going to have a busy day, Joe.
Yes, so are you. I'll send your lunch in for you. Sandwiches okay for you, kid?
Oh, sure. I always dress like this for meals.
Throughout shows a good sense of design and proportion. She's probably an artistic type.
Yeah? About what age?
We want to know the color of her eyes next. Age. That's difficult. Always difficult. About 28, maybe a little younger. I'm guessing, of course.
Anything else?
Oh, yes. There's a very slight flaw in the nib.
Unusual pen? Foreign? Expensive?
I'll give it a micro test and tell you exactly, but I think it's a standard make.
I see. So all I've got to do to wrap the case up is to examine every fountain pen in London under a microscope.
That would do it. Take time, of course.
What have you got for us?
Maybe the big picture, sir.
Unmistakable. The writing and the drawing, both from the same pen. That tiny flaw in the nib. Don't tell me. This was done on a rough and ready surface. A menu... No. The inside of a cigarette packet?
Right. We found it in Baxter's flat, sir.
Hand me the last letter, please. I'll have to make a thorough check, Inspector, but I think you can take it from me that this paper is the type used for quick, rough sketches. Very thoughtful of you.
I'd like to see Mrs. Bax.
Afraid that's not possible. I don't think I know you.
Sanders, Globe Magazine. I'm writing a piece on Gary Bax. Who are you?
I don't think that's your concern.
Okay, Mr. Crest, have it your way.
I happen to be a very close friend of Mrs. Bax and of her late husband. If it's of any interest to you at all, I'm rendering her the small service of answering the many calls of sympathy which have been pouring in all day.
Okay, Mr. Crest.
Please don't go on naming me. All right, I am Andrew Crest. Satisfied?
Yes, you are.
Perfect. There's nothing I can do for you.
Hello?
May I speak to Mrs. Bax?
No, Mrs. Bax isn't in today.
I was shocked to hear about Gary. Will you convey my sympathies?
Yes, I'll tell her. It's very kind of you.
They say she's in a nursing home.
I can't discuss that now.
I shan't visit her, and I just want to send her some flowers.
You don't have to. It's not Olive who's dead.
What was that?
My dear fellow, please try and understand.
If she's at the Grayson, like last time...
I can't discuss it now. There's somebody at the door.
Me? Don't press me to stay. I have another appointment.
My husband lived to the hilt. He loved life. And I think he'd have chosen that way to go. In a split second, no lingering farewells.
Why do you say chosen, Mrs. Bax?
You can put suicide out of your mind, Mr. Saunders.
Why are you so sure?
The timing, Gary's sense of drama. If he'd wanted to kill himself, and that in itself was inconceivable, he'd never have done it without writing his column first.
Oh, sure.
Will you pass me my medicine, please?
Certainly, Mrs. Bax.
The pills, the little bottle on the end, 3.
Who do you think could have killed him?
If you knew him, you'd realize that it was either a dreadful accident or caused by someone mentally deranged.
Why are you so positive about it?
Please. Why are we talking about his death? It's his life you're going to write about.
Well, the one may be the key to the other.
I have to take one of those, huh? Thank you. I have to be rather careful with the shock. I shouldn't really be making the slightest effort even to talk to you.
Believe me, I appreciate your talking to me at all. Especially if you can tell me about Andrew Crest.
Horrid, but so effective for the nerves. The latest thing.
Rather like Andrew Crest, I understand.
You don't have to prompt me, Mr. Saunders. I'm quite prepared to talk about that. Off the record.
Okay. Off the record.
There was a great understanding between Gary and myself. You're a journalist, Mr. Saunders. You know that Gary didn't work from 10 till 6 and dig in the garden on Saturday afternoons. Our lives were not suburban in any respect. He understood about Andrew Crest.
Hmm?
Yes. I had to understand Gary Bax, too. We made absolutely no demands upon one another. It's as simple as that. The world being what it is, you'll agree, I think, that it's unprintable as well.
Yes. Now, on the record, Mrs. Bax, what were his last words?
Characteristically, they were, have fun.
Thanks. I shan't keep you any longer. You look tired.
Make it a nice article.
Sure.
You're alert, keen. Gary would have liked you. It's a pity you never met.
Yes. A great pity. Mrs. Chadwick, I'm sorry to bust in on you like this, but there are one or two questions I'd like to ask you.
I told you before, Mr. Saunders, you're wasting your time. Mr. Chadwick is at the office, and Mr. Foster Green is on a sightseeing tour. I'm afraid I can't help you.
Mrs. Chadwick, I'm not interested in your husband's affairs.
Then what do you want, Mr. Saunders?
The answers to a few questions about Gary Bax.
I suppose it's obvious to you that I did know Gary rather well.
You were in good company.
I must appeal to your discretion. His reputation wasn't exactly spotless, and our association could be open to misinterpretation.
I'm sure it could.
Life can be rather dull sometimes. I met Gary when it was being particularly dull. We found that we had interests in common. He was gay, charming, amusing.
It sounds just too good to be true.
It was. I hadn't seen Gary for over a week. Expect he'd found some new interest.
Any idea who that might have been?
Who could tell with Gary? Probably the girl he was with last night.
Who was she?
I didn't see her clearly. She must have come in when Mr. Foster Green was arguing with the club photographer. You Americans. When you want something, you certainly go out to get it, don't you? I heard him offer their club photographer £20 for a perfectly ordinary souvenir photograph.
J. Foster Green certainly wanted that picture and wanted it bad, didn't he? Thank you, Mrs. Chadwick.
What about her?
February.
Oh. Huh?
March. May.
What did he do in April? Break his leg?
Sorry. Wrong guy.
Nice kid.
That's Jill. Poor kid.
What's her story?
She worked here.
Uh-huh.
Jill Jameson. Worked here for a couple of months. About a year ago.
What did Bax want with her picture?
Souvenir, I suppose.
Ah. Tell me more.
Sorry. Terribly sorry.
Millionaires, but mean.
Oh. Oh.
Broke, but generous. Looks like a relative.
Yes, you're right. There is a resemblance. Have you ever seen her?
No.
Yeah.
Daughter of a jeweler.
Ah. Did she ever wear that bracelet?
Ah, she's not your mystery woman.
Nice.
Ah, now this is an interesting one.
Well, you're not telling me the rest of them are dull, eh? Did she ever wear the gray fur?
No. She believes familiarity breeds mink. Oh, referee, stop that contest. Mr. Bax was no longer able to defend himself. No fur, no bracelet. She relied on her dress designer. On a clear day, you could see Carly.
Say, would you mind stepping to one side, mister?
For sure.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Say, you're an American, aren't you?
Yeah, how'd you guess? Well, put it there. Where you from?
Hartford, Connecticut?
Hartford. Oh, I know the place well. Great town. Wonderful community.
But this place, this London, boy, it sure chokes you with culture, doesn't it? You seen many of the sights?
I live here.
Is that a fact now? Well, isn't that nice?
Well, you know how it is. You live in a place, you think you've got plenty of time to see all the sights, you end up seeing nothing. Except today.
Huh? Yeah, true. Very true. Say, would you mind just standing over there for a minute? Yeah, that's fine. Mother of Parliament's right behind you. Your folks still live in Hartford?
That's right.
Good. Well, let me take a picture. I'll send one back home to them.
Hey, that's real neighborly of you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
What? You know me?
Just guessing.
Oh, smart boy, huh? Well, you don't seem to be carrying any initials. Who are you? Yeah, and I thought you were just being neighborly. But you had an angle. Everybody's got to have an angle. Look, no statement. Why are you guys so interested in a routine business deal anyway?
I'm interested in photography.
What, landscapes?
No. Interiors. I'd like to see that picture you bought at the Sapphire Club last night.
Why?
Gary Bax was murdered.
What?
Yeah. Police are looking for an unknown woman. If she's in the background of that picture, I'd have the biggest scoop of my life.
Look, mister, take my word for it, will you? There's only one lady in that picture, and she wasn't committing any murder.
Well, if I don't see it, the police will. Sorry. Wrong woman.
Yeah, you can say that again. Look, it was worth a few bucks to keep that from Mrs. Green. You don't have to use this in your story, do you?
Okay, Mr. Green, don't crowd your ulcers.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. Say, sensational view, eh?
Yeah?
Boy, my missus will really like this. Full of culture. Real historical.
Ready? Hold it. Now. Finally. Okay, take a rest. We'll just relight the set.
Darling. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were...
Johnny Pendleton? Sorry, I'm not. Sanders, Globe magazine.
You mean you're really right about Tony and me in Globe?
Really? But frankly, your engagement is just a sidelight on the story I'm working on.
Well, who cares so long as it's switched on?
Help me out. I'll give you as much space as I can.
You're talking my language, Mr. Sanders.
Tell me, just how well did you know Gary Bax?
Ready in a moment, Denise.
Not that well.
Well enough to have a celebration drink with him last night.
I was so happy about my engagement, I wanted the whole world to have a drink.
Sure. What'd the great man say?
Just congratulations.
Of course. Please accept mine, too.
Thank you. Is there anything else I can tell you?
Just who killed him.
Killed? Poor Gary.
So you did know him that well?
Months ago, yes, but it was all over. People do make mistakes, you know, and they're not bound to admit them to reporters.
Or fiancés?
All set, dear.
I'm not a cheat, Mr. Sanders. Tony knows everything.
When did you tell him?
Before I agreed to marry him.
An hour before Bax was killed.
You can't be suggesting that Tony had anything to do with it.
Not yet. But I'm beginning to think that maybe your engagement is more than just a sidelight to my story.
Please don't rake it all up again. It can't be that important to your story.
You telling him everything, darling?
Well, are you?
May I see some bracelets, please? With pleasure, sir. Have you anything special in mind?
Well, I've kind of taken with the one in today's Gazette.
We don't advertise in the Gazette, sir.
This wasn't an ad.
Well, if you have the paper, I might try and match it up. It's foreign. Oriental, I think.
Got anything like it?
I doubt it. This establishment is rather well known for British design, sir.
Ever see one like it?
No. You might try...
You might try and remember last night.
I beg your pardon?
The Sapphire Club last night, Mr. Pendleton. You sat at the next table to the woman wearing this bracelet. Why not try admitting it?
How about telling me who the devil you are?
You know who the devil I am. Surely Denise got to a phone by now?
What are you talking about?
The murder of Gary Bax. The name's Sanders. I'm a newspaper man, and it just so happens I'm in pretty close with the police.
You think you can get it reduced to manslaughter for me?
Oh, don't kick it around, pal. Just talk. Why did you deny being at the club last night?
What I do in the evenings is
What's so secret about going to London's most famous night spot?
Some of the customers had resented me talking about it.
Okay. You could tell me. Would you like Gary Bax?
I hardly knew him.
Well, sometimes it's easier to kill a man you don't know.
I think you'd better leave.
Did you have any reason to be sore at Gary Bax, the man you hardly knew?
As a matter of fact, I did. And if you'll stop firing questions at me...
Okay. Now, fingers off the trigger. You shoot.
Mr. Gary Bax was immoral, disloyal, and thoroughly selfish. My authority for that statement is indisputable and highly personal to me. I calculate there are at least a dozen other men who feel the way I do. And any one of them who's halfway decent would consider that killing Gary Bax was a public service, like clearing a blocked drain. I'm not a proud person, Mr. Sanders. But I don't mind telling you I'm not ashamed of my war record, nor of the fact that I work for my living behind a counter, after having been brought up in very different circumstances. But I am ashamed of the fact that I didn't have enough guts to wipe the smear of Gary Bax off the face of the earth.
The police will be quite interested to hear all that.
They were very interested. They were here an hour ago. Now, sir, can I show you some bracelets?
Oh, yes. I see you come straight to the point. Excellent. Very reasonable in the circumstances. Is that the view of your partner? Really? After all this time? Well, I don't like partnerships myself.
Mr. Sanders, sir.
I'll be with you in a moment.
And our expert says this sketch could only have been made by a competent professional artist. Maybe you got a piggy on the staff who fits the bill.
Yes, there are several. We've got 6 to be exact, but only 2 work in the art department.
Right. We'd like to interview them immediately.
What were the last words that Bax spoke to you?
Something about continuing the Inquisition.
Oh, that's what I'm doing now. Thank you. You mean you hadn't met him before? Even when he wrote about you a few months ago?
To what particular piece of gossip writing do you refer?
I read it again this morning in Bax's cutting book.
You've been busy and thorough.
Well, he insinuated at that time you were going to retire to the West Indies. Obviously, that wasn't true. You're still very much here.
I want to be helpful to you, Mr. Sanders. What do you want me to say to that?
Well, didn't that story annoy you?
Why should it?
Your company shares went down.
Indeed they did. But they more than recovered their value. Don't quote the figure, Mr. Sanders, but I personally cleared £8,000 as the result of Mr. Bax's few lines of small type. I'd welcome bad publicity like that once a week, wouldn't you?
Of course.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davids.
I'm sorry, Inspector, those interviews weren't more successful, and I'm very glad that none of our staff were. Well, you know what I mean, Inspector.
Who's taking over Mr. Bax's column?
Nobody. He's irreplaceable.
Thought it might be a woman. Just an idea.
Try another deal. That one wasn't very bright.
But it's become a big business. Lots of people involved. Where do you suppose Bax picked up that rumor?
Journalists' sources of information are sacred, Mr. Sanders.
Of course. You mean you didn't suspect anybody?
Now, really. I'm a businessman. For every doubtful friend I have, I can count 10 certain enemies. One has to live with that kind of situation and learn to assess when counteraction is necessary and when it's a waste of time. In this case, the attempt to discredit me misfired so laughably that I hadn't the time or the inclination to worry about its origin. But you seem to have plenty of time to spare for that purpose, and I think I know why. You're an ambitious reporter. You don't just cover a murder story. You want to hand the killer over to the police.
Well, it would make a better headline, wouldn't it?
I'm bound to agree that it would.
But I'm afraid I'm not getting any closer to writing it. Thank you.
I'm sorry that I couldn't be more helpful.
Right.
Joe, you're not going to go out again.
I've got to. I don't know where, but I've got to.
Joe, you've done all you can. Please don't go out again.
But I can't just sit here while the police build up a case against you. At least I've got to know what the cops are up to.
At least you can have a cup of coffee. Sit down. Go on.
Okay. You look after me.
Oh, it's the least I can do. You look after me.
Peg, I've tried them all. Everybody who had a drink with that rat, from the cute little model to the big-time ship owner. Everybody who hates him says so straight out. And if they told it to me, you can bet your last penny that they told the police just as well. No, I'm right back where I started this morning. Peg.
Yes, Joe.
I have to ask you this, Peg. When you were going around together with Max, you must have exchanged some confidences. Can't you remember anything about him that might give me some kind of a lead to a possible suspect?
Joe, don't you think I haven't racked my brains all day to think of some?
Sure.
The only mystery about Bax is why he didn't divorce Olive.
Yeah. They were the original sophisticated couple. That's why I checked up on Olive first on the list. I thought sure she'd want to get rid of her husband on account of Andrew Crest. But...
Joe, no one ever questioned that triangle. Perhaps now is the time to question it.
Yeah. Yeah, if they were so sophisticated, why weren't they divorced?
Quite.
Peg, maybe I am right back where I started. Right back to Olive Bax. What have we got to lose by another kind of a checkup? And I've just got time.
Nice to see at least one customer, sir.
You can always rely on me. As long as the drink's good, I don't mind who drops it in and out. Hi. Overheard any good phone calls lately?
Made any?
Always ready with a good answer. Have a drink.
No, thanks.
That's not a good answer. Say, how's Olive?
You're the close friend. Why ask me?
Been too busy. Haven't had a chance to contact her.
She's okay, I guess. We had quite a chat.
Oh, it's wonderful how she can talk. And with a mouthful of pills.
You know, Chris, I don't like you.
You're in good company. You'd be surprised how many people did like me.
Correction. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Have a drink.
I said no.
Change your mind. Makes a variety. Drinking with somebody you don't like.
Inspector around?
No one's around. I knew this whole affair would be bad for business.
Well, it's still early. Besides, I found it a bit crowded in the bar.
Oh, Crest. Out of loaf on no dough.
They told me I'd find Gower here.
Oh, he's due at any time. He's due. Says he wants to see a copy of every photograph taken in the club in the past year. So we're going to the pictures.
Let's hope it nails the killer.
Well, don't tell me you haven't done that yet. I thought every reporter always beat the police to it first.
No, up to now we're just about even. We're both agreed that a lot of people dislike Gary Bax. How do you feel, Fallon?
He made this place the club, where everybody who was anybody but just had to be seen.
And a percentage?
He did all right.
Maybe too well?
Listen, he could bathe in bourbon at my expense if he was back in that corner table right now.
You're talking money. That isn't everything.
No, it isn't.
Who is she?
Who was she? Jill? Jill Jameson? Cigarette girl? 22.
Oh, yeah, there was a snapshot of a cigarette girl in Max's Women I Have Loved file.
Please don't talk about her that way.
Okay. Talk about it your way.
Well, you might as well know. I hated his guts. But never more than over the way he treated Jill. All these other dames, they know how to take care of themselves, but Jill, well, she was different. You know, she came from ordinary folk like me. Just ordinary folk. I thought I could protect her. Didn't stand a chance. Poor kid. She really fell for him, and he treated her as passing entertainment.
What happened to her?
Oh, she ran out of the club one night. They said she didn't even see the car. Accidental death, they said.
No father, brother, friend who might have it in for Bax?
No, she was a girl on her own. Mind you, I should have slung him out of the club after that, but I didn't. You see, he was my meal ticket, and I've been hungry so many times that even that sort of food didn't stick in my throat. Maybe I should have killed him. I didn't do that either.
You're telling it better now than when you made your statement to us. Hi, Joe. Still eliminating suspects?
Better than that. I've isolated one.
Oh, really?
With motive, means, and opportunity.
Here are the photographs, Inspector.
Thank you. Going to be a long job.
It needn't be. Look, Olive Bax is still...
She's cleared.
On what grounds? I've made some inquiries. And
Yes, the inquiries you made cost you exactly 1 shilling at Somerset House.
Well, if you know that, why haven't you picked...
I've about as much interest in Olive Bax as I have in any other attractive widow.
If you'd only listen to what I'm trying
Now,
to
listen,
tell you...
Joe, if you really want to help me, I'll let you tell me one thing I don't know.
What's that?
Who is the woman with the bracelet calling herself Peggy or Margaret? I don't care what she calls herself when she's charged.
You seem to have an obsession that she did it.
You seem to have an obsession that she didn't do it.
Hello? Oh, darling. Oh, don't apologize. I know how busy you must be. Thank you 1,000 times, but I can't hear you very well. What? You're just a little tight now, aren't you, darling? You've had a few. You don't really mean it, do you? And tell me that you don't mean it. This is some kind of stupid joke, isn't it? Get out! Now, stop snarling. You're drunk. You wouldn't have the courage otherwise. This sudden attack of independence. Strike out on your own. Don't make me laugh. You're too much of a mean, lazy sponger for that. And don't interrupt me, you spineless weakling. I've paid the piper long enough to call a whole symphony where you're concerned. So listen. You're going to starve, Andrew. Starve, understand? And I won't go a step out of my way to put a moldy crust in your hands. But before you do starve, have a few more drinks on me. For the last time. You're going to need them. This is supposed to be a private nursing home.
Well, have me thrown out. You're in the mood.
No, I'm in the mood to talk. What do you want? The story?
You could put it that way.
Put it this way. Andrew Crest is a gigolo without any money. Olive Bax is a fool with too much.
Mm-mm. That's libelous.
Oh, don't worry. He won't sue. He can't afford it. And I shan't, just for the pleasure of killing him, socially.
You know, I had a look at your father's will today.
Ah, that handsome document.
The conditions of the inheritance provide a complete stoppage of your income should you divorce.
Father was like that. I was 19 before I finally had to tell him that the stork didn't bring me. He died soon after. Shock, I expect. What's it to you, anyway?
You know, I don't think any mystery woman killed Gary Bax at all.
You don't? Why not?
Because there's nothing mysterious about you. You're an open book.
Read on.
The wife, the husband, the lover, and the will. Remove the husband, the other three live happily ever after.
Remind me to sue you for slander.
And it was all for nothing, wasn't it?
I take back what I said about your sophistication. You just can't realize it, can you? That a woman who loved Gary could be driven to almost anything. Tears, laughter, hurting him, mothering him, but never...
Killing him.
Get out! Out!
Olive Bax, eh? Same old obsession.
Gosh, you're a stubborn cop. The case against her is strong enough to at least ask her a few more questions.
I tell you, she's cleared.
No interest in fresh evidence.
For instance?
Andrew Crest has walked out on her.
Oh, the not-so-merry widow, eh? Very sad. How'd you know?
I don't sit around looking at pretty pictures.
Oh, Joe. You mustn't be unpleasant, you know.
It may be more unpleasant in print.
Oh, Globe reporter's findings ignored by police?
That's the idea.
All right, well, go ahead. But don't blame me if while you're printing that, all your pals are printing police hole Peggy, whatever her name is.
I'll take my chances on that. Can't you bring her in and really question her?
But, Joe, why drag her out of bed? If I want to talk to her again, I know exactly where to find her, safe and sound, in a nursing home. No, what I'm really interested in is the exact location of Chummy. Chummy, Joe, is police slang for suspect number 1. The mystery woman, alias Madam Bracelet, alias Peggy. And it won't be long before we completed the picture of her.
I'll be seeing you. Bourbon. Bourbon, sir? Keep the change. Thank you, sir.
Oh, well, I see we've at least one cash customer tonight.
2, sir. Mr. Crest has settled his account. Mrs. Bax?
Right.
Night, sir.
Yeah, maybe it is Mrs. Bax's, but not in front of newspaper men, please.
Joe, you've got to let the police know.
We're in a worse spot than we were before.
They must believe you now.
No. I'll tell you what they'll believe. That I killed Crest to cover up for you.
Please go to the police, Joe. Please, because I can't stand it much longer.
Just a little more patience, Peg. Just a little more, please. There must be a way. Oh. Late call?
At least we're not entering via the window.
Inspector Gower, Sergeant Dale, this is my wife, Margaret.
Good evening. Simple facts, simply expressed. I'll return the compliment. Crest has been killed. The patrolling constable saw a car parked by the house. We've traced that car. Your wife hasn't changed the registration number to her married name. She hasn't changed her job either. Sketch artist. Margaret Saunders, known as Peggy.
Okay, but she didn't kill him.
Who's him, Bax or Crest?
Will you listen to me? Peggy wanted to go to you right from the start. I persuaded her to wait.
Maybe. What have you got to say, Mrs. Saunders?
Nothing. so she sees a lawyer.
All right, take a look round, Dale.
Yes, sir. You got a search warrant?
I can get a dozen within an hour. Now, take it easy, Joe. Your turn will come. Right now, I'm questioning your wife.
Without a caution?
Yeah. Between friends. Why didn't you both come to me in the first place?
You know why. I tried to get the letters back. That was the first delay. Then things just got worse and worse for me.
I didn't want Peggy involved. All right, so I took a chance.
Listen, Joe, your wife is capable of writing letters. She's also capable of making excellent sketches. I'm sure she can speak for herself. Now tell me, Mrs. Saunders, quite quietly and, if you please, without any interruption, exactly what happened.
Then I went home. That's all.
Okay. Or are you still accusing Peggy of murder?
Shut up. I must warn you, Mrs. Saunders, that I'm still not satisfied. Now, these are the facts as I see them. You went to this man knowing full well that he would not surrender these letters. You went determined to get these letters back and determined to kill him for the agony of mind he'd caused you.
No, I did not.
You were alone at the table for 2 minutes. Ample time to poison his coffee.
With what?
Nicotine tablets. Found them in the kitchen drawer, sir.
Exactly what the postmortem revealed.
Used for plants, and that's all. Are you crazy?
Anything else?
They found the bracelet in the bedroom, sir.
Okay, Joe, now it's your turn. You visited Chris tonight. Why?
Why? To try and complete my case against Olive Bax. When I got there, he was dead. What right have you to come in here stringing together accusations?
At least as much right as you have to make a tour of 8 people who spoke freely to us. Why'd you do that, Joe? Because you were desperately anxious to switch the accusation away from the one person who didn't speak freely to us. Whose motive, means, and opportunity were all 100%. Your wife. I'm not a fool, Joe. I'm not inhuman either.
I don't deny that. I just deny that Peggy's the killer. Look, for my money, Olive Bax is...
Olive Bax?
Yes. Bound by the will. To live with Bax till death did them part. Then when Crest turned up, she gave Death a helping hand. Crest was scared. Having his bills paid was one thing, but marrying her was quite another. So when he tried to walk out on her, she killed him, too.
Oh, dramatic conjecture, Joe. Now for the facts. Olive intended to have a showdown with Crest tonight, but cooled off, never got there. You did. There are 4 witnesses to the time that she returned to the nursing home.
It's 10 minutes from the nursing home to that house. She would have had just as much time to kill Crest as Peggy would to have poisoned Bax. Look, Olive Bax is a hysterical hypochondriac. She had practical and emotional reasons for both murders. That's the way I see it. And I think I can prove it with your help.
Now, first of all, I must thank you all for attending here at such short notice to help us in the reconstruction of the events immediately prior to the murder of Mr. Gary Bax. The results of this reconstruction may also throw some light on the killing of Mr. Andrew Crest. Sergeant Dale, will you take a seat at the corner table there? And you can play the part of Mr. Gary Bax. Oh, Mr. Maine, you were also at the corner table, were you not?
Yeah.
If you please. Very well, Mr. Maine. Will you begin?
Well, I spoke to Gary for a couple of minutes. He said something about wanting to go on like this for the rest of his days. Poor guy didn't realize he'd only a few minutes left to him.
Those are the minutes we're interested in, all the same.
Yeah, sure. Well, then the waiter asked if he could serve Gary's coffee. Gary said okay while he looked around the club.
Where did he go to first?
Oh, not very far. Just about now. Miss March asked if he would have a celebration drink with her and Mr. Pendleton.
Who actually offered the drinks?
I did. And to Mr. Maine, too.
Did you pour the drinks, Mr. Pendleton?
Yes.
Where were you looking when the drinks were handed over?
It's my fiancée.
Oh, naturally.
And that was the way she behaved. She didn't put any weed killer in either drink.
Did you?
No, of course not.
How'd you know the poison was weed killer?
I didn't. It was just a lucky guess.
Unlucky guess. Well, what happened then?
Then they both drank to us. Bax made some ghastly pun about Denise being a model. And then we both got up to dance.
Oh, no need for that.
Can we go now?
What's the hurry?
We both work for our livings.
I'm sorry, you'll have to wait. Well, the youngsters went dancing. Did you watch them?
Yeah, and then we talked for a bit.
About them?
Yeah.
What did Bax say?
Well, do I have to?
Sooner or later. Next time you'll be on oath.
Well, he said Mr. Pendleton hasn't got a farthing. I'm sorry.
All right, I haven't. But at least nobody wants to poison me.
Well, let me know if ever they do. Then he went off on the grand tour.
Yeah, to Chadwick's table.
You watched him?
Yeah.
Was he steady on his feet?
Oh, sure. That was the first drink he'd had all evening. I've seen Gary drink a Russian trade delegation all the way back to Leningrad. That was some night.
What precisely happened here?
I think I can give you the essence of our encounter, Inspector, without any difficulty.
Please do.
Mr. Bax introduced himself, and we were most interested to meet him. That is so. Mr. Bax tried to get some statement from us about our business negotiations. We didn't want to make one, and we didn't. He sat down.
Wake up, Dale.
That's right. And I offered him a drink. He tried again to provoke some statement from us. He rather smilingly suggested what he might write if we didn't talk. But I called his bluff in much the same spirit. He then asked you a couple of questions, didn't he, J.F.?
Yes, pretty innocuous. Something about what I thought of the clubs over here. Then he went away.
He said he'd return to continue the inquisition. Of course, he never did.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chadwick. But just for confirmation, you've never met him before?
To my regret, no.
But he had written about you.
You embarrass me, Inspector. Dozens of people write about me without ever meeting me.
Did Mrs. Chadwick say nothing during the meeting?
Nothing. I never interfere with my husband's affairs.
You'd never met him?
Bax claimed to have met my wife on a committee. But that may have been a ruse to get into conversation with Green and myself.
Now, please allow your wife to answer.
I'm sorry.
That is the answer, Inspector. I really have nothing to add.
Sure. Now, this drink. Was it already poured out when Bax arrived at the table?
We all had drinks when he arrived. Yes. It was as I showed you just now, Inspector. I poured one for him.
Then you offered him a cigarette, Reese.
Hmm?
A cigarette, remember?
Oh, yes, of course. I offered him a cigarette. He refused. Said he preferred to wait until he had coffee.
Thank you. Okay, Dale. This must be exceptionally painful to you, Mrs. Bax. Please forgive me.
Let's get it over with quickly.
As you wish. Joe, will you take the place of Mr. Crest?
Yes, of course.
Now, tell me, am I standing in exactly the same position as your husband?
Over there.
Oh, over here, right?
That's right.
Now, he had a drink with you and Mr. Crest.
After we talked,
Oh, what about?
the three of us, we were such intelligent, sophisticated people. Or hadn't you heard?
Yes, I've heard.
The three of us. And then there was one. Like the nursery rhyme.
No, Mrs. Bax, you must really try to concentrate. Who gave Mr. Bax the drink?
I did. No, Mr. Crest.
Can't you remember clearly?
Yes, and... No. I'm not sure. I'm not well. I really ought to be back at the nursing home.
So Mr. Crest poured the drink. Right, Joe? Like that?
Like that.
How long did Mr. Bax stay at the table?
Oh, a few seconds.
He didn't sit down?
No.
How did he look?
All right.
Are you sure?
He looked all right. I've said he looked all right.
All right, Mrs. Bax.
All right. I've lost the one man in the world I really love. I'm badgered, suspected, made ill with worry, and you say all right. How dare you? How dare you?
Take it easy.
You're the cause of it all. Don't think I don't know about you and your precious Peggy. Gary kept that one to himself. I never saw her. But don't think he was discreet about her, because he wasn't. Not to me. He told me everything, always. She's cheap, stupid, and vicious. I know. He's just been protecting her all along. Trying to put it on me. You know that, don't you? It was she. She killed Gary. I'm sure of it, and so are you. Well, why are we having to go through this game when we all know?
And right at that precise moment, Mrs. Margaret Saunders entered the club. What happened after your husband left this table, Mrs. Bax?
Andy had a few more drinks. I was angry at the time, but not angry enough to stand him 24 hours later. Now, I wish I'd let him get really drunk. It's the last time for him, anyway.
Joe, shall we move on?
Yeah, guess so.
Right, Dale. How long were you at the table before Mr. Beck's return, Mrs. Saunders?
A few seconds.
Coffee cup in front of you like that all the time?
Yes.
Let's see. Yes. Your right hand was nearer to it.
I'm sorry.
That's right. Thank you. Then what happened?
Then he offered me a cigarette and I took one.
Did he?
Yes.
Oh. You were very observant, weren't you, considering how emotionally disturbed you were?
Was I?
Yes, you were. He had a cigarette when he died. I hope the rest of your story will be as reliable.
Inspector, do you have to...
Shut up!
Of course it is.
Well, how did the conversation go?
Badly. I didn't really get anywhere at all. I reminded him about the phone calls and about the final letter I'd written asking for the return of my other letters. Said something about, Peggy, my dear, I should have got in touch with you before, but you know how busy I am. Please forgive me.
Thank God.
I told him that I would forgive him everything if he would return the letters to me. He didn't answer straight away. He just took some more coffee.
Did he make any comment about the taste of the coffee?
He didn't mention the coffee. Really, Inspector, I cannot make up things just to help you.
What did he say then?
He leaned forward on the table. Tried his old charm on me again.
So out came the old charm. Did you fall for it?
No, Inspector. I just told him what I thought about him. I just wanted him to get out of my sight. I wanted to be rid of him, to...
Kill him?
No, Inspector, no.
What happened then?
I asked him what possible use the letters could be to him.
Blackmail?
I suppose so. And he offered to see me to my car. I was quite calm and quite determined to go to his flat and search for the letters myself.
Certain now that you'll be free of interruption.
I thought he was working here.
Yes. So you both got up and went out into the foyer. You left the club. Mr. Beck's turned to come back to the table, collapsed and died instantaneously. Well, thank you all very much. Joe, I think I shall have to ask you and your wife to accompany me to Scotland Yard.
Not yet, Inspector. You've done fine so far, but there's one more thing you've got to do. Will you take my place in Crest's seat?
Go over all this again.
I quite agree, Inspector. I've a board meeting on the other side of London.
This won't take long, Mr. Chadwick.
Well, it'd better work out. Okay, Dale, get cracking. You take Bex's place. And let's get this over with.
There was chat about the business deal between Chadwick and Green, all very pleasant. Now remember that standing or sitting, the famous Gary Bax is the focus of all eyes. When he stands, all eyes look up to him. When he sits, all eyes look across to him. Sit. Have a drink, Mr. Bax.
Thanks.
That's it. Famous columnist, celebrity. Nice to have him at our table. I reach for this glass near Mrs. Chadwick. Place it here. Or I push the glass toward our distinguished guest. Offer him a cigarette?
No, thanks. I'll smoke later with my coffee.
Reese, you knew. You knew about him all along.
Of course I knew. And so apparently did most of my friends.
Crest saw you poison him and tried blackmail. You pretended to agree and arranged to meet him. Then you killed him, too. Story ends.
I was right. You are an enterprising journalist. Very busy and thorough.
Okay, Dale. Carry on. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Cheers, Inspector.
Cheers.
We still have to go on calling you Inspector?
Now, your Joe's good at digging out facts, but my first name remains a secret.
Or Joe could easily go to Somerset House and check your birth certificate.
No, I shan't do that. Everyone's entitled to at least one secret.
Excuse me, Inspector. I thought I'd find you here. We're assigned to a new case. The car's outside.
Oh, well, I'm afraid you'll have to excuse me. Well, enjoy that dinner. Bye, Joe. I'll keep in touch.
So long.
Well, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that movie starring Hazel Court. And like I said before, if you enjoyed the movie, please make sure to add it to your physical and digital film collection. One other thing before I forget, if you enjoyed this process of what we do with our tribute weekends, feel free to check out all our tribute weekends on our social media pages, our Vimeo page, our YouTube pages, Facebook, all of them. Because we've done a lot of tribute weekends focusing on some amazing talents such as Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, Edward D. Wood Jr., Barbara Steele, and we'll continue to do those throughout the whole year and hopefully beyond into 2024. That being said, hopefully you can keep supporting the artists that we focus these tribute weekends on, and support me as on my Patreon page, become one of my patrons, because without you, the audience, and your continued support of the arts, we can't continue to do what we do. So there you go. So by all means, thank you so much for joining us for the Hazel Court Tribute Weekend. I look forward to seeing you for any of the other screenings we have left to come on. So without further ado, have a good evening, and I will see you at the next screening.